So you actually you got to pull aside a few of these, or maybe all of the health budget committee members.
Yeah.
What was their reaction? Like
Yeah.
what were they thinking when you showed them this
Right.
data?
So after I did the ACA workshop, thankfully our lobbyist
Hmm.
for the Physical Therapy Association
Hmm.
took me back to the Capitol, and the House was meeting for passing bills at that time, and so we stood outside, and the lobbyist would send in a note to specific members of the House. The Senate was not meeting at that point, although I was blessed to be able to meet with one of the Senate. Um, represent or the Senate on the House or on the healthcare budget committee.
Gotcha.
But I was able to meet with people that were on that specific committee because that is the committee that makes a lot of the decisions when it comes to rate changes. So I learned so much about like how this all works. It is ACA working closely, so ACA needs to be a part of it as well as the House has a certain budget. And so they have to then show that that is needed to put in the budget. So
Gotcha.
that's where I was learning a lot about the process. But I met with the lobbyist, and you have about 2 minutes. Not lobbyist, I'm sorry. The lobbyist would pull, not the lobbyist, the House.
Yeah.
The lobbyist would pull someone from the House. You have 2 minutes to kind of prove your case, and so
Wow. Wow.
you decide like what's your primary focus, maybe like what area they're from. You might know a little bit of information, and you just share with them about the one pager. So I met with like various members of the House that are part of that committee, and it was great to see that it was well received.
Yeah.
Prior to me going, our lobbyists were already speaking to the people that make the decision. So they were
Gotcha.
aware
They
of
were
what
prepping
we're
you.
looking for,
Yeah.
but I was able to then go in and really be like, I'm a therapist, I'm an owner, and this is how it's impacting your community. And so that was really exciting to see that they cared.
Yeah. Yeah. To actually look them in the face and as a person and have them put a face to to the data and to the need really.
Hmm. Hmm.
And okay, so I'm just trying to get in the frame here. So
Yeah.
you're meeting with all these individuals.
Hmm.
They unfortunately we weren't first in line, and probably haven't been working on this long enough. So we didn't get the raise that we'd hoped for. But
Hmm.
you know, that being said, coming away from those meetings, how do you
Yeah,
feel about our chances for next year's budget discussions?
I think that this is a very important year for us. I think
Oof.
that the conversation was started, and I think that when I was there, it was very well received, and
Mhm.
it was something that they were aware of, but that we need to have a lot more presence this
Mm.
year in order to be the first in line. The money went to others that needed it just as much as we did,
Sure.
and they had been in there doing a lot more than we were. And so I think that the people in that committee, it's a 2 year commitment, and so we had this past year, and then we have this year,
Gotcha.
and
All the
so
same
we've
folks.
already kind of like laid the foundation. So
Hmm.
now it's about going and having the right people that know how to go to them and explain to them our one pager and really can explain to them our story. um, then my thoughts is that next year, hopefully when the budget comes through, we can have that change. And so there's a lot of ways about going about it, and the lobbyists really know how to do that, and the
Right.
associations know how to put the right people in front of the right people at the right time. And
Gotcha.
so I learned that it is important to have the associations involved, and it's really
Yeah.
important because they know they're over there, kind of talking to them when we're not there. But then
That's right.
coming in myself, it was great because then it put a face with a story, and
Yeah.
so I was able to. I feel like they heard me. So examples are one of the senators. I have. a location I was looking to open in her area, but I just don't have the therapist. I have the amount of children that need the services, or the
Yeah.
clients that need the services, but where I was struggling. So I was able to talk about my personal story, and she really, I
Mm.
think that spoke to her because it's her
Yeah, that
community.
resonated.
I had another house rep that said, have you guys thought about a bill and passing a bill? So I started saying, oh, I didn't even know you could pass a bill on things like this. And
Sure.
so thankfully, with my contacts in other states, I found out that a bill was passed in another state and for the same type of thing we have. And so we might explore that avenue and go
Okay.
meet with that house. Just by that 2-minute conversation, it opened up a door that I can go and say, hey, let's meet with her. Let's talk about this bill. Let's see if we can do this.
Yes.
Um, Other ones were saying you were number 2 on my list, and had our one pager
Wow.
like in front of them as they were walking out from like the whole session, because I was there all day. I mean, in and
Wow.
out, they were bringing them in and out, but I was there all day. And at the end of the session, she came out and had her one pager on top of her portfolio and said,
Wow.
I know you guys need this, and you're number 2 on my list for getting this money. So I
Wow.
feel that we've
Wow.
laid the foundation,
This is
but we
wow.
have a
I
lot more
mean,
work that we've got to do.
that I'm just telling you, just hearing you talk about this, like, I don't want to get too optimistic, but
Yeah.
my anticipation is pretty high. And this, we're not talking about, a 50-cent raise. I mean, we are shooting for the moon here. I mean,
We are,
you
because
see,
if you
yeah,
can see it, we don't deserve a 50-cent raise. We
that's
deserve
right.
more than that. If
Yeah.
you look at the national averages,
Yeah.
and they're double what we are,
Yes.
we 50-cent raise will not bring us close enough to what we need to do in order to have the access to care for the children, and also to provide the care that they need. Our margins are so tight right now that I
Oh yeah.
think providers are struggling to pay their therapists, pay their rent, pay for all the equipment that they need,
Yeah.
that the education part goes at the wayside if we
Yeah.
can't we do the best that we can educate, but we can do so much more. And we have such amazing therapists in the state of
Yeah.
Florida, and we do a great job of educating. And we have
Uh-huh.
some of the top universities in the whole US.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but yet we aren't paying our therapists to be able to keep them in our state, because
Yeah.
they are going to other states because the cost of living
That's right.
is higher, but yet they have student loans and they can't make it because we can't pay it, because we can't.
I know. Yeah.
So
It's
it's
a
just
margin thing.
constant.
It's
It's a
not.
margin thing.
Yeah, no, I mean every owner that I talk to,
Mhm.
when we even talked last year about the potential raise, right? The one that came through at
Mhm.
0.01%. The first thing that every owner thought of was, how can I pass some of this along to my therapists?
Yeah, it's the
Because they
first
know,
thing. We know.
everybody knows.
Yeah. And we want
And
to
it's
give to
just,
our therapists. So we try to
of
be as
course,
efficient as we can as businesses. And
of
like
course.
that's what we do. We want
Yeah.
to. But when your pay rate is so low, your margins just become smaller and smaller, and you're just trying to figure out how you're going to like do it all.
Oh yeah.
So we are in a struggle, but I do have hope. This is the first time I felt this hope in a very long time. So
Yes.
I do feel that we have a chance this year. We've got all of the associations coming together. We
Yep.
have a committee of therapist owners that have devoted a lot of time into this, and I think that hopefully we can make this change.
Yeah, no, I think anticipation for anybody listening to this should be at its highest level. So that being said, how can everybody who's listening to this, everybody, who's watching, how can they help? What do they need to be
Yeah.
doing?
So I think that the most like how each person can help really is by donating towards their associations. This costs money.
Yeah,
Hiring a lobbyist can cost. I never even realized how much. I mean, over $100,000 that our associations spend
yeah,
on lobbying. And so, um, if we don't have the money, honestly, the
yeah,
resources, then there's no one out there advocating on our behalf
yeah,
all the time, and it costs money. And so I can tell you that the associations are on board with spending the money to make this change. But if they don't have the money,
Yeah.
then they can't do it. So
Yeah.
I think that that to me is for the one time I'd say like this year would be, donating towards that. And then for, people that have relationships with members of the House or members of like the Senate,
Cool. Yeah.
even just sharing those relationship information, because I think that relationships are also really important, and
Yeah.
having the story from that relationship is important. So that's always helpful as well.
Yeah. So first and foremost,
Yes.
join those organizations.
Yeah.
There's so many therapists in the state who have not yet joined their organization, and your organization is working incredibly hard for you to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So not only, but first of all, joining, but
Yeah.
definitely, and I think each of the organizations is going to have a donate link
Hmm.
that is that's going to this. Your dollars are going to be going to this. This meaningful raise, I mean, a meaningful raise is what we're
Yeah.
looking for. Is going to be a direct result of your organizations, of your associations, doing that work in the background for you. So, we'll provide that to everybody as in links. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, we need to raise those funds. We need to set up those meetings, and hopefully by this time next year, we've got a great result.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think that we can do it with everyone's help.
Well, Amy, I just really appreciate you joining me today, and yeah, just looking forward to the next 12 months. And stay tuned, to your to the communications coming from the associations, so that you know when and where to help. If you haven't yet, join those Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups out there that we use to communicate, and yeah, just increase that awareness. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone that filled out the survey as well, because those
Absolutely.
numbers really did help.
Yes,
It helped when we for this cause. But thank you to everyone, and thank you for having me, Erin.
absolutely. Thanks, Amy.